بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين على سيدنا حبيبنا وقلوبنا محمد وعلى آل محمد. In his name I begin with the best of blessings upon the noblest of prophets, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wa alihi wasallam. Thank you everybody for joining us today for an Insta Ahlul Bayt Live on the topic that I think a lot of us really connect with and really understand it at such different levels because people experience it in so many different ways. And so we're live both on Instagram and on Facebook. And I just want to make sure people can just give me a thumbs up that you can hear everything. It's all clear. And we're about to go on Instagram as well. So Sara is joining us on Instagram, and we should be good, inshallah, for Facebook as well as YouTube. Assalamu alaikum, Sara.
Alaikum assalam.
Okay, so we're good on Instagram and on Facebook and YouTube, inshallah, as well. Okay, so we're all up and running. There we all are, alhamdulillah. So we have with us Sister Sara Asam, who also happens to be a relative of mine. So your mom is cousins or step cousins with my mother. Mm-hmm. and we only met like 3 years ago. Alhamdulillah, since that time till now, we've always connected. And Sara, she is a 21-year-old Iraqi British living in London, UK. She's currently studying medical physiology. She is also a wife and a mother of a very cute little guy, Sayyid. I should say guy, Sayyid. And mashallah, she has goals to become an oncologist, a doctor for treatment of cancer, inshallah. So if you recall back in September, we shared Sara's story on her bullying experience. And I was amazed at the feedback and just how people really engaged with her story and how they were truly impacted and really impacted by her whole experience growing up. And what a beautiful child she was, and what an incredible young woman that you were becoming, dear Sara. And what an inspiration you are to a lot of people. And we see here, mashallah, so many people on the social medias that are tuning in right now to your story. And if you recall back then, everybody, the story that we had, and Sara is going to share it for us today.
So assalamu alaikum everyone. My name is Sara Asam, of course, as Berak said. And I'm gonna talk you guys through my bullying story. So my bullying started, when I just hit year 6, and it was a lot of verbal bullying. People used to call me ugly, no friends, and all that stuff. So, but surprisingly, I actually had more confidence in year 6 than I did when I stepped into secondary school. So I didn't really think much of it. I just continued as normal. I was myself. I was bubbly. So yeah. So year 7 came along. I was very bubbly. I was energetic. I loved PE classes and football. I was so excited to be in year 7. Little did I know it was going to crush me so hard. Year 7 came along, and for me, I was very excited. And I was made fun for having packed lunches, sitting alone and eating. I was cyberbullied. On that day, I remembered that there was a girl and she was taking photos of the whole year. So for me, she used to tell me, okay, Sara, like, I'm going to take photos of you. And for me, having such a fragile personality, I was very happy she was going to take photos of me. So I didn't really know. And then I go home and I see she's posted my photos, and there's like 40 comments saying how ugly I was and how it's better to just die. And, no one loves me and all that nonsense. So, yeah, I remember,
Sorry, I could go back. Go ahead.
I remember being pushed on the roads on the way back home. I mean, when I would, go home, because my home was walking distance from secondary school. So people, when they would go to wait for the bus, they would push me on the road where there was cars. And when I would go into PE classes, girls would whack their badminton bats on my back and legs while laughing at me. And when teachers would put us in groups, nobody wanted to be in my group, and I always felt left out of PE, unfortunately. So yeah, 8 to year 9, my food was snatched off me at break times. I would have like things like rubbers and actual bits of food thrown at me. Tripped up when walking down corridors. When walking to class, I would get shoved onto doors and walls and doors. Like I remember being pushed so hard by this girl, and she was actually Moroccan, and she pushed me, and my ribs got stuck between the two wooden parts of the door. And then I went home, and it was like I had like a big fat bruise on there, on my ribs, basically. And yeah, where am I? I lost track. Okay, so I also was punched in the face. I actually wanted to also say that my bullying just didn't happen in school. It happened outside of school, and I was actually physically bullied by this one girl. These two girls actually outside of school. And I remember school when I was standing for maths, I was lining up. Surprisingly, it was a new girl that had just come in, and she had no friends. So I was the first person to actually make friends with her and talk to her and make her feel comfortable. But you know, she ended up punching me in the face for no reason. Oof. And she was pushing me in line for no reason, and I was telling her to stop, and she wouldn't stop. So I just basically she punched me very hard, and I remember screaming so loudly that day that a lot of people just backed away when they heard me scream, and I ran into the maths office, and I literally just woke up in my bed. So I basically passed out, and I had like a big fat bruise on my face, and yeah.
Oof.
The next day I went in, and everyone was laughing about how I got punched. I hated it so much. I can't stress how much I hated it. I didn't even want to go into school, but I had to because I had to learn. And I would run back home crying my eyes out. I was too scared to defend myself. I literally had no one. I had no one to back me up, you know. I wish I had that one person, you know. You get always that one person in school that always looks out for you, but I didn't have that. And my books would be taken off me and thrown on the floors. And this is one of the reasons why my learning was affected so negatively, because like when I would try to study, they wouldn't let me. They would just take my books and be like, oh, do you want it? Do you want it? Do you want it? And they'll throw it on the floor, and I would be told to go and fetch. And there was a nickname made for me, and my gender was changed. The bullies in my class would change my gender on the register. Surprisingly, I get a lot of questions about this. I was actually bullied by boys as well, not just girls. So the boys, you know, used to do a lot of hurtful stuff to me as well. I was threatened to be killed. I mean, if I don't oblige by what the bullies say, they would, you know, say, you know, how we'll stab you, we'll kill you. And I was threatened to be ganged up on. So, 10, I developed an eating disorder, reoccurring anorexia bulimia. My eating disorder started end of year 9, and it went on to year 10. My lowest weight was 45 kg, and my height is 162 centimeters. I measured the other day, so so my weight was very low. My BMI was like 16. I failed my GCSEs apart from English, drama, and Arabic. I was in and out of the Royal Free Hospital. I suffered an eating disorder for 4 years. I would have stages where I couldn't stand up, moments where I feel like, you know, something would suffocate me. I was in so much despair. I put my family through a lot of stress. I always still apologize for what I did, but it just wasn't in my control. My family, you know, by the doctors were told it's a miracle I'm living due to being so skinny, because I was like literally skinny. I was so skinny. Looking back at photos, I'm like, I was like a walking skeleton. I was so skinny, and it was really bad and unhealthy. So, of course, this is just an overview of my story. There's much more to this. There's so much more. I can stay and talk for hours, but I'm not going to do that today. So, yeah.
And that's why we wanted to do this program, is after Sara shared her story, she inspired. Sorry, I'm getting over a cold cough here, so might start coughing. So excuse me. Her story inspired a lot of people in terms of what she went through, and a lot of people started reaching out, talking about the bullying experiences that they have been through, how it affected them mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. And you could see from Sara's story that this is something that is probably quite common, that our siblings, ourselves, the people that we know in school have gone through this type of bullying. Despite what Sara has been through, mashallah, here she is today, alive, well, thriving and growing, and an inspiration to a lot of people who have been through this. And so today, inshallah, we're going to go a little bit more in depth in terms of exploring what her personal experience was all about and the questions that you have sent us. And we're going to try and catch all the questions that you've also sent us as well. And I'll be showing some questions across the screen for those of you who are on YouTube as well as Facebook. The questions that people were quite interested in your story in terms of, you know, when did this bullying start? And are you still being bullied today? I know you mentioned what level 9.
Yeah,
Yeah. So that's a little bit different here in North America. So if you can explain, do you remember how, like, what age were you around that time when this was all happening?
12.
So that picture you sent me was when you were 12 years old.
Yeah.
The one that we used on the poster. You were 12 years old when it first started. And can we safely say that you're no longer being bullied today?
If anyone tries it, they're going to get what they deserve. No, I'm joking, but like seriously, like no, alhamdulillah, I'm not bullied anymore. So alhamdulillah wa shukra.
And so, you know, that answer that you gave right there, Sara, that just shows a lot of strength. If anybody tries to do that with me now, it's as though the experiences that you've been through, you know how to handle it, you know how to deal with it, you know how to cope with it. So the next question we have here is, how would you describe the bullying you experienced? Physical, mental, emotional? You mentioned it was a lot of it, right?
Yeah, I would probably say it affected me mentally more than anything. Because of everything that I went through. My mental health was so bad. Like physically, I healed. I got punched in the face the next day, 2, 3 days, 4 days, 5 days. You know, my bruising went. Everything was fine. Emotional and mental, I did get affected a lot. Mentally, I would say more because, of course, you know, like my whole, you know, eating disorder and stuff. Yeah, it was all related.
So it was a variety. Somebody's mentioning here, why did you get bullied? So you mentioned earlier that somebody took a picture of you and then you posted it or shared it, and then they all started calling you ugly. But why? Why did you get bullied?
I don't know. I wish I knew, but I really don't know. People just felt the need to pick on me. I think it's because I had a very fragile and personality. I was very naive. I was very myself. I was very simple. I was just, you know, myself, and they couldn't see that. That's what I feel like. But to be honest, I really don't know why they bullied me. They just, I feel like maybe I gave them an opportunity too, because I used to cry when they used to like say stuff to me. So they saw that as a weakness, you know.
Hold on a second. You said I gave them the opportunity. That's almost like you're victim blaming yourself. That's like we're doing a therapy session right now, huh? So let's hold back and let's process that a little bit. So you felt that because you were showing emotion, that gave them the opportunity to pick on you more?
Well, it does, because I feel like with bullies, when you show a reaction, it pleases them, it makes them happy, it makes them want to, you know, be more mean. They're going to get their satisfaction. You're just going to be more hurt. And I did. I was actually, looking back, I was very weak. I was very weak. I was just always like quiet and just like, you know, I was very nice all the time.
So. And being nice, though, we got to differentiate here, Sara, that being nice does not make you weak. You just didn't know how to handle it at the time, because it's quite shocking of how people can mistreat somebody and really hurt somebody. Absolutely. Another question somebody said is, how did you manage to remain positive throughout all of this negativity?
So it was very hard to remain positive. I can't lie. I mean, genuinely in life, people's negative thoughts outweigh their positive thoughts, and I feel like that's what anyone who's struggling through a situation in life. For me, I remember I'm always remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. At the time, I was always remembering, you know, He's watching over me, even if my parents don't see what's happening at school, and even if you know, the teachers are not seeing it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is seeing it, and He knows what's happening. And also, I was always told by my dad, you know, that this is just a stage, and it will pass, and these bullies are not going to live with you your whole life. And I feel like even till now, I always try, whenever I'm going through a hardship, I always try to make myself think that, you know, whatever's happening is only temporary. It's not going to be with me my whole life. There's always light at the end of the tunnel. So yeah, and also surrounding myself with positive people. My mom was my number one, honestly. My mom was my hero. She was my secret. She still is, but she was like, she gave me such good support. I spoke to her about everything, honestly. We're like best friends, you know.
And for those of you who don't know, Khala Aida, Hadi, she is an incredible woman. I remember your mother when I was in England when I was 5 or 6 years old, because I grew up for the first 5 years in England. And I remember meeting your mom at that time, and I think it was in London, childhood memories. And I remember from that time till my young adulthood, my mom's cousin in London. What a personality. And I got the opportunity to connect with her a few years back and spend the whole week with her when I would be doing events, and she'd just feed me not only with food, but with her energy and her strength, mashallah. And I think you are a testament to that tarbiyah, that modeling and that upbringing. What an incredible woman she is. And in our communities, in like the Iraqi Muslim Shia communities in London, mashallah, she's such a well-known woman there for who she is and what she does and how she empowers people. And I remember the advice, I'm the therapist, but she's the one who's giving advice. This is what you say, this is what you do, and this is what I'm like, thank you, Khala, bless you.
Yeah, honestly, my mom, you know, she was very good support for me. I spoke to her about a lot of things. She was like my best friend. She still is my best friend. I mean, sometimes, you know,
yeah.
She has to tell me, you know, Sarah, like, I'm not your best friend, I'm your mom, you know, you can't like, but, you know, we talk, and I feel that's so important. And like I said, surrounding yourself with people that give you positive energy. I strongly believe that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And exactly. And when you are in these difficult situations, you want to try and get rid of the toxicity. The remaining positive is seeking positivity from the people who can provide that for you. Absolutely. Another question somebody had sent in is, why didn't you change schools, and how did your parents handle the bullying? I know you mentioned that your mom supported you, but this is an interesting question. Why didn't you change schools at the time?
So I got my notes. Why I didn't change school. So basically, for me, I was living in a different area that I am living in right now. I mean, that my parents' house is in right now. So my parents actually had me in a waiting list for a different school before I was in the school that I was in, that the bullying happened. And then they got called, they said, you know, no more spaces. And I got rejected, basically. So that was their second option. And to them, that was very close to where I was living. So at the time, my mom, of course, she doesn't drive. She had very bad asthma. She couldn't commute, and my dad was working. And my mom used to drop me off and pick me up from school till year 8. You know, I used to see her every day at the gate waiting for me. So that was one of the reasons. Also, it was hard to find schools and good places. And if they're far, and you know, my parents were they weren't very comfortable with me traveling very far away at a very young age. I didn't even have a phone until I was in end of year 9. I had my dad bought me that little, you know, Nokia one that just like has that you can call from. So I didn't have a phone at the time to, you know, keep in contact and stuff.
And it makes sense. Sometimes, you know, when you are stuck in such situations, it's not as easy as picking up and changing schools. And I think these types of personalities are going to follow you wherever you go, in different places, right? I just want to take a moment to say all the love, the comments that are coming in terms of how amazing you are, Sara, how strong you are.
Thank you very much.
What an inspiration, and seeing so many more comments if you just scroll through the people doing that. Here's an interesting question that somebody's also mentioned, and it says, how will you teach your son how to avoid the bullying and confidence through everything that you have been through?
To fight, seriously. I know I don't want to sound like I'm a bad mom and I'm encouraging, you know, like fighting, but seriously, I feel like for him, even now,
Do you mean physical? Do you mean physical side of fighting, or setting harsh boundaries, people not to do
both,
that?
both.
Okay.
I feel like when for example, I'm teaching him, you know, if somebody comes up to him randomly and hits him, he has to hit back. If somebody, of course, I'm going to teach him to be nice and be caring and, you know, to not expect of people. But I'm going to teach him definitely to stand up for what is right. Definitely.
And I think that's really important to teach our kids that you can't push us around. And perhaps what you went through is being quiet, like you said, and you felt that you showed emotion, and that got the bully to really gang up on you and to do more of that. What you want to do is to teach, and what we all want to do is to teach our own children, our young siblings, that self-defense, as somebody mentioned here. Absolutely. To set boundaries and be able to defend yourself. Absolutely. You have every right to defend yourself if somebody comes to physically attack you. And if it's emotional or mental or, you know, that type of abuse, is to also stand up for yourself. But this comes from where? This comes from the home. This comes from the schools being aware of what's happening. This comes perhaps from even reaching out. Perhaps another question is, did you feel safe that you could reach out to your teachers?
Yes and no. I mean, this is going back to the question of how my parents dealt with it. My dad used to come in, every parent, even he used to come into the school so many times and talk to the teachers, and the teachers, you know, they would say, okay, we'll keep an eye. And they showed sympathy, but they did nothing. And I remember I remember being bullied so much, and I literally had enough. And I went to go and I wanted to go and speak to the head teacher. And I went upstairs to his office, and his secretary popped out. She was like, "Oh, where do you think you're going?" I said to her, "Look, I need to speak to the head teacher." She was like, "No, you can't. You don't have an appointment." So then I just left, and I didn't even do anything about it, which was my fault. But teachers do nothing. Teachers just say, yeah, okay, we'll keep an eye, blah, blah, anti-bullying awareness assembly, but they're not going to do anything. And it's sad. Sometimes you get good teachers that would, you know, look out for you and look out for what's going on. But then you get other teachers that they'll join in the gossip, you know?
And it's unfortunate. This is not to paint all the teachers the same color. There are some incredible teachers out there who will do, and no excuse, you know, when a student comes to you with this type of situation, that's the teacher's responsibility to make sure it doesn't happen again. And the people who are causing this bullying to stop. We know bullying has gone even to the extent where young people have killed themselves. A young Syrian refugee last year in Canada, she was a tender age of 8 or 9 years old, the same age as my daughter. And when I think about it, it's really, truly saddening. It's this young child was told to go kill herself because she was so ugly. You've heard this, Sara, you're ugly. This young child heard this, and they told her, you know, the slang expression, go kill yourself. She went and did that. She went and actually hung herself last year after everything she's been through to come to Canada as a refugee. This is how she was mistreated. And this child went and did that because she was so isolated, so alone. And it's so sad. Of course, it's so sad. And the fact that you were in the school, teachers are supposed to be somewhat, I know in the Iraqi culture, we're supposed to look at our teachers like our parents with the same respect and trust, as well as that they're going to be protected. And I'm sorry that you had to go through that experience where the teachers didn't really help you in that sense. But this is not to say that there are some incredible teachers out there who absolutely do their best to try and help. Yeah. Oh dear. It's you know, when you hear that, it is so sad, but it's also something we need to talk about, because to be aware of the situation that's happening so that we can support and help those who are impacted by this bullying, because so many people do experience that. Another good question somebody mentioned was, what have you done? What would you have done differently in such a situation?
Definitely fight back and stand up for myself. I didn't used to stand up for myself because I was very scared. But it's easy to look back and say, I should have done this, I should have done that. But it's past now, but we learn, of course. And for me, definitely to have fighted, if that's a word, fight it back, and
Fought back.
fought back.
Yeah.
Fought back, and yeah, definitely 100% stand up for myself, not take any hurtfulness or any rudeness from anybody. Definitely 100%.
And somebody's mentioning here, have you gone back to that school to tell them how to improve their support system?
No.
No, that'd be interesting.
No. I don't even want to go back, to be honest.
You don't want to go back.
I remember, you know, at the end of year 11, I was sitting in sociology class, and you know, at the end of the year, at the end of the school, they do like this party thing for like everyone. And I remember the teacher in sociology, she was actually the deputy head as well, and she knew about my bullying. So I remember she said to me, "Okay, Sarah, why are you not coming?" I said to her, "Firstly, I don't want to go because it's not something that I would like to attend, you know, as a Muslim woman and all that stuff." And then so I was like, secondly, most of the year were rude to me. Most of the year bullied me. They put me through hell. You want me to go? For what?
Yeah.
You know, for what? And she's like, "Oh yeah, but they're all grown out of it." And I'm like, "No, but they put me through. Look at me. Look how skinny I've become because of everything. Look how much stress I went through because of everything. I went through so much hell. I did."
Yeah, absolutely. And you don't want to actually go back. Yeah. Somebody mentioned it. I want to also touch base on the eating disorder a little bit. And can you tell us how one of your bullies reached out to you and how you felt? You mentioned you sent to me a message that one of your bullies had sent you after we posted that story. And somebody continued here, have you forgiven them? So let's look at the first part. Can you tell us how they reached out? And
so surprisingly, actually, I don't know what it was, but the last month I met like 3 or 4 of my bullies, and it was so like just face to face. It's just like, you know, overwhelming. But the bully that reached out to me, actually, I was walking with my mom, and I saw her with her mom, and I recognized her, and I said hi and everything. She gave me a hug. She reached out to give me a hug, and I was like, I was very surprised, you know. I didn't want to touch her because of the whole coronavirus, but you know.
There you go. That saved you from actually having to.
So she had me on Instagram, and of course, when I posted my story, she reached out to me, and you know, she said she already had apologized though in school, and I already forgave her in school. And the reason why I forgave her, I think, is because she apologized to me, and also I feel like I'm not the type to not forgive. My heart just doesn't allow me. I can't. I'll forgive and forget, you know, because it's just made me stronger. I don't care about her, but it's made me stronger. So,
were any of these bullies Muslim? Somebody's asking.
Yeah, there were a lot that were Muslim, and
And you were at a non-Muslim school wearing hijab, and these Muslims were picking on you.
The thing is, there was actually 3 other Muslim girls in my class. One was Shia, and no one picked on them, and everyone picked on me. So that's what made me, you know, think that why are people picking on me for?
Because they're cruel. And that's the thing, when you have somebody who is bullying, when you have somebody who is attacking or hurting, it is not a reflection of you, but rather a reflection of them. Definitely. I also just wanted to note out there that on the posters we had written 5:30 Eastern time. I take responsibility for the time difference that changed today. I was thinking wholeheartedly that it was supposed to be at 5:30 because at UK it's 9:30, but because of the time change, I messed up. So for those who are expecting it to be at 5:30, it's actually supposed to be at 4:30 because it's 9:30 GMT time. See, when we have this shift in time, it messes things up. I did that another time as well, so forgive me for that, but at least it's recorded. For those people who missed it, they can see it live or see it after, inshallah. Another question they have here that somebody wrote is, if they were from the Iraqi community, did your mom try to reach out to their families to explain what they were doing? This is interesting because I think it might be specific to what these people are experiencing. Yeah.
So I was only friends with this one girl, and she was Iraqi. And obviously my mom, you know, she knew I was being bullied, but she decided she didn't want to be my friend, and she didn't want to talk to me for no reason. So I just left her. And my mom, you know, she never, I don't even know how to explain it. She didn't, because there was only one girl that was Iraqi. and I feel like it was more my dad that was coming into the school and trying to,
Okay.
yeah.
So you use the approach of going to the school to do that, as opposed to, going to the community. And sometimes perhaps we need to do that to make it more, if there is bullying with people from the same community, to go to the families, go to the community heads to get involved, to intervene. Yeah.
Actually, noting on that point, it just clocked in my head. The bullying outside of school happened with the Iraqi community. I was actually, it was actually my mom's friend, and she had a daughter, a year older than me, and you know, I was in their house one day, and I was playing, and she had this poster of this Iraqi football player on her door. So I was playing, and I accidentally, you know, my hand accidentally bashed on the door, and it ripped the poster. So what I did, I went and I told her, hey, look, so and so, I'm really sorry, but this is what happened. I didn't mean it and stuff. Do you know what she did? She took the poster, she took my hand, she went in the room, shut the door, she pushed me on the bed, and she slapped me so hard.
So
she slapped me so hard, and I was like, I'm sorry, and and I was like, I was red, and my heart was beating fast, and I just felt like I wanted to cry. So then she went out of the room like nothing happened, and I said to my mom, can we please go? And my mom said, why do you want to go? I said to her, please, let's just go. My mom knew something was wrong. So she basically, she told me, is everything okay? As we were going down, I said to her, yeah, everything's fine. And then she said to me, no, is everything okay? I said to her, no. And I just started crying, and I said to her, she hit me. And I said to her, let's just go, please. I don't want to come here anymore. And then my mom said, no, we're not going. We're going back up. I'm going to go and talk to the lady. I said to her, no, please. I just want to go home. She said, no, we're not. We're going back up. So she made me go back up, and she spoke to the lady and everything. Same girl in a birthday party, a gathering, and her mom, actually, it was a different girl. Her mom, you know, told me, go and call my daughter, please, blah, blah, blah. So I went into the room. I said, look, your mom's calling you, blah, blah, blah. Two girls came up to me, and they punched me for no reason. And I went into the bathroom, I locked myself, I started crying, and I told my mom, and my mom, in front of everyone, mom doesn't care. My mom just in front of everyone, she was like,
your mom,
yeah.
Your mother, mashallah, bless her, Khala Aida. No, she doesn't take anything from anybody.
Yeah.
And I think that was instilled in you. And I think it could be related to what somebody mentioned. Could you please touch upon how you had so much sabr? I think this can relate to that question we looked at earlier, is how did you manage to remain positive? I would say it's from what you're saying, from the strength your mother gave you, rather, and who stood behind your back, right? Somebody mentioned, did you continue in the same school? Yeah, she did continue in the same school.
I continued, yeah.
Yeah. Somebody mentions that Sunni or Shia. That's the question. I don't think that's relevant here. It's just that there were people who were of non-Muslim faith, and there were people of Muslim faith. And you said that they weren't even picking on the Shia girl in the class. They just happened to be picking on you. So it was more related to you as opposed to what sect you were, right? Yeah, it's sad to hear that. And I just want to first say, how are you doing talking about this and reliving this? Are you doing all right? Just doing a check-in with you.
I'm fine. I've spoken to so many people about this, and to be honest, for me, I'm not the type, like, I'm not afraid to talk. I really do. I don't see anything wrong with not being okay in the past or in the present. It's okay. We're human, you know. We go through stuff, so it's fine to talk. It's important to talk, actually.
And somebody's asking, do you find that you've recovered fully now?
Alhamdulillah, yeah. Even if I'm 50-50, I have to, because I have a son and he's looking up to me and he's dependent on me. So sometimes I'm in situations and I just really want to cry and I have to hold myself because of my child.
Right.
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah. I want to touch upon the eating disorder, because this is something that within our communities we haven't really touched upon to a great extent when it comes to mental health and the impact of certain situations such as bullying that could get you to that. How did you get to the point where you were experiencing an eating disorder from this bullying experience? I know we mentioned it earlier, but I just wanted to get into a little bit more detail.
So I feel like the pain that I was going through, I took it out on myself. And for me, it was, you know, the fact that people were just always commenting on the way I look. So psychologically, I just thought I had to look a certain way to feel a certain way. But that became a very bad obsession. I was living off tomatoes and cucumbers and soup, and that's it. Literally, I was not eating. I was starving myself. You know, it became an obsession.
So what you said is very interesting here, is that the outside pain of how people were impacting you, you put it inward, and you punish yourself, so to speak, with this eating disorder, taking control of something that you did not have control over on the outside. And this is pretty common when it comes to, let's say, bullying, when it comes to depression, when it comes to anxiety, or people who are experiencing something around them, or abuse, right? People in abusive relationships, in this case, your situation, the bullying, because you don't have control over how people respond around you, you inwardly started taking control by controlling how you eat. And this is something really interesting when it comes to, you know, the psychology of bullying and the psychology of how we get impacted this way. In your case, you tried to take control. It's that, and this is common, like even right now in the pandemic that people are living in, that we don't have control over what's happening around us, and it's causing a lot of mental disturbances, right? But then when you take control of things inward like this, sometimes it's a positive. In this case, it was not a positive thing. Like you said, you were starving yourself. It was almost like a punishment. It wasn't a healthy response to these external factors. How did you slowly get out of that unhealthy place? Because we know that anorexia and bulimia have led people to die because they're not getting enough nutrition in their body to stay alive. How did you get out of that space into where you are today as a beautiful, young, healthy woman?
Thank you. It took a lot of pain and courage and therapy, and not even therapy. Therapy didn't, to be honest, shall I be honest with you, it was Imam Rida alayhi salam. And I know a lot of people are just gonna, you know, maybe not believe me, but it was because for me, why it's called recurring anorexia, because I had it and then I recovered. I started to binge eat. I started to eat a lot, and my dad was like, "What are you doing? You know, you stop eating." I was eating to the fact that I was vomiting because my stomach was so tiny. And then I became anorexic again, and then I got better and started to eat again and started to eat a lot, and then, you know, the same cycle. So and then the last time I remember just being anorexic again. And I remember, you know, everyone was talking about Imam Rida alayhi salam, and how, you know, if you go there and you ask for 3 hajat, your hajat will be fulfilled. And I remember my dad one day sending me this video.
How old were you, sorry, Sara, at that stage when you became in the place of the eating disorder? How old were you around?
So it started at 14, it finished at 16, 17.
16. Okay, so that's when you heard about Imam Rida alayhi salam going to his shrine.
16 years old is when I heard about Imam Rida alayhi salam. I mean, I know Imam Rida alayhi salam, but, you know, I heard about going to the shrine and all these miracles and stuff like that.
Yes.
And then the year after I got married straight away. So
subhanallah.
So I remember my dad sending me a video, and I was upstairs in my room and I just bursted out crying. I was just like, I need something to just change in my life, because I can't be like this anymore. Right. I really can't. It was really painful for me. So subhanallah, like I had a dream. And that dream was, you know, I went to Imam Rida alayhi salam, and it was crowded and it was packed, and I was standing there at the back, and I said to Imam Rida alayhi salam in the dream, I said, okay, am I not going to come? Am I not going to touch your darih? Am I not going to get close to you? And then suddenly in the dream, everyone moved towards the right, and I had this whole open space just to myself. Allah. And that
which never happens. Which never happens hardly in real life. And when you go to ziyarat,
it came true. I went, and when my dad, when me and my mom found out we were going to Imam Rida, we both hugged each other. We were so happy, and we went. And I remember going down, and it was crowded, and I was like to my mom, you know, I'm never gonna touch, because, you know, when you're coming there from such a far place, you just want to touch. I don't know what it is about just touching the darih, you just want to touch it. So there was this guy, and he is in charge for the wheelchairs for the disabled people, and he saw me, you know, crying, me and my mom. So he was like to my mom, speaks Farsi, so he was like to
Yes.
her, what's wrong? And she said, you know, we've come from London, and my daughter is, you know, she wants to go, and she blah blah blah. And you know what he did? He took me in the wheelchair, and everyone moved to the right, and I had the whole space to myself.
Subhanallah.
And I
Allahumma
remember
salli
just
ala
grabbing
Muhammad wa ali
on.
Muhammad.
I remember just grabbing on, and I was crying my eyes out. And then, you know, he let me. He was a really nice man. He let me stay there for quite a while. And yeah, you know, I asked, the first thing I remember asking was just for me just to be better, because honestly, it wasn't me. Everyone was telling me, no, you're not the Sara like you was before, the bubbly, the energetic. I was just so in so much pain. I was always, you know, down. I was always crying. I was just really bad. And I remember, yeah, it was the best experience of my life, honestly. Came back, I
Subhanallah.
started eating. I just one
Subhanallah.
day randomly came up to my mom and said to her, you know, I'm hungry. She said, no, you're not. I said, yes, I'm hungry. She was like, no, you're not.
Your mom
She was
makes
like, go.
amazing food. Amazing food, by the way. Yeah.
She was like, go and eat chicken. I said to her, you want me to eat chicken? So I took the chicken and I ate in front of her. Wallah, sajdat bilga, and she was crying.
Oh,
Yeah, it was,
subhanallah.
yeah, thinking about it is sad, but you know.
Alhamdulillah wa shukr. You know, it's as you were talking, I couldn't help but get emotional myself listening to that moment when you grabbed onto the dariyah and
Yeah.
how that did something for you. And absolutely, there's such beautiful healing when it comes to the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, when it comes to our faith, when it comes to treating mental illnesses and disorders and mental health issues. Absolutely. Some people are asking here, you know, how can people get help in the community when it comes to that? And what I would say to that is, please go talk to your family doctor. Then they will refer you to specialists in the area when it comes to eating disorders. There are clinics, there are groups, there are workshops to help people, men and women. Mostly we see it with women, but it does happen to men as well, especially when it comes to body image issues and dysmorphia. So there is help that way. There are people who have centers for treatment when it comes to eating disorders. So how do we get help? First of all, we need to normalize it when we talk about mental health, that bullying or other situations can contribute to, in this case, an eating disorder. It can contribute to self-harm like cutting, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So these could be the results because of traumatic experience such as bullying. And when we understand that, then we can answer the questions such as what somebody said, how did your parents try to understand your eating disorder? Were they understanding towards it? I think your parents were, in a way, how supportive they were when you went to ziyarah and so on and so forth. So you didn't really get medical treatment or psychological support for treatment?
To be honest, I got a dietitian, and that just didn't help because she was just telling me to eat, and you don't tell somebody with the eating disorder to eat food.
It's like telling somebody who's sad, don't be sad. Be
Yeah,
happy.
so she used to make me a meal plan, soup, yogurt, and then to be honest, I didn't stick to her meal plan. And then when I was going for a week, she was like, "Why are you losing weight?" I'm like, and my mom used to she's like, she's not eating food, you know.
Right.
Tell her. My mom used to say, she was like, tell her off, shout at her, just tell her to eat, you know.
That's
So
not how it works. And it's difficult, absolutely. So somebody also mentioned here a referral via GP to the hospital or other health provider. Somebody here has bravely shared their story. They said, I'm a recovering anorexic, something people disbelieve because, I can't read it here, because my body never lost weight. It's hard. I believed I wasn't worth feeding. That's an interesting one, when you feel that you are not worth it, right? I had to go into hospital for 3 months, and another 3 months I was in an outpatient. Thank you so much, Ashley, for sharing this. See, Sara, when you start talking about these things, that other people who are also experiencing it start sharing it. This is how we start to get access for other people. When we start talking about things like this, other people start sharing their stories. We normalize it in the sense that, yes, this is something that happens. This is something that we need to talk about to help people. Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that. I know it's not an easy thing. It's a very personal thing to talk about, but it's so important that the outward pain, the external factors around you that was impacting you, internally, you were hurting yourself, right? You were impacting yourself. Yeah. And that's really important to understand. Those of you who are being impacted by mental health struggles or bullying or abuse, to not take it out on yourself. You are worthy, like that, the sister that said here, I was not worthy of feeding myself. You are absolutely worthy. You are God's creation. You are worthy. And our worth is not dependent on these external factors of people, of wealth, of how we look. But we don't understand that as children. And it's so important that we teach our children that, how to build their sense of worth, their self-esteem.
Definitely.
And as Muslims, we talk about how our worth is dependent on our relationship to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not on these external factors. But it's so hard when we're living in a materialistic world, right? When we're living in the world of social media and how everything is based on your looks. Everything is based on all of these things around you. And somebody's mentioned تعرفون عربي. إحنا طبعا نعرف عربي، إحنا عراقيين. But this is an English program، برنامج إنجليزي، قاعد نحكي باللغة الإنجليزية. هذا البرنامج اليوم عن البولينج. ما أعرف شنو البولينج بالعربي. تعرفين سارة شنو البولينج؟ منو يعرف شنو معنات bullying بالعربي؟ نسيت الكلمة. I know العدوان المنزلي, which is domestic violence. الاعتداء, which is assault, sexual assault. I forgot the word bullying. But in essence, العداوة والأذية الأطفال والناس يعني يغلون ويأذون الشخص الثاني، وشون الأثر على النفسية. شنو كتبوا؟ التنمر. Is that what it is? هذا الشخص يقول سارة بنت خالتي. يا هلا، معنات احنا we're cousins too. يا أهلا وسهلا. So another question somebody has sent to us was, what can you tell your kids so that they won't get treated? I think we already did that one, sorry.
Yeah.
So how to overcome being bullied. In your case, how did you eventually overcome it? How did you actually go through the steps?
I
تعدي على الشخص. Yeah, bullying تعدي على الشخص. شكرا. Yeah.
I didn't overcome it. It was just time. Time
for
healed.
you, it's time.
I didn't. It was very hard. You know.
But what did you do in that time, Sara? We know you went to Ziyara, which helped you with the eating disorder, which was the result of the bullying. But what would you say? Like, how did you? I guess I'm answering my own question here, because the Ziyara for you helped you eat again. But how did you work through the bullying? How did you? Because you have overcome it. You are here today. You are thriving. You are growing. You are moving forward in your life. Alhamdulillah. How did you get from that point to this point?
I don't know. I really do. There's so many things. I think it's just the matter of just, leaving the secondary school, going into college, meeting people and actually having friends for the first time in my life.
Oh dear. So you didn't have like a social network around you.
No. And I hated it. But I made, in college, I loved it. And I was so happy. I remember going home and I was like to my dad, do you know what? They're actually really nice. He was like, yeah, there's good people outside. It's not just bad people. So I made friends and I enjoyed my time at college. And I feel like that helps me build my self-confidence. It's just time. For me, it was just time. My mom talking a lot in my head, talking a lot. Yeah, my dad. So yeah.
And alhamdulillah, you had such incredible support from your family. I think that had a huge role in it. So getting out of that toxic environment, that's a key thing to remember for those people who are experiencing bullying. If there's a way for you to get out of it. In your case, you didn't have a choice. You weren't able to leave the school. Alhamdulillah, you went on to university, which changed the environment. And you were also around people that were really good, right? An interesting question. Did any of the bullies go to the same college as you?
No.
Alhamdulillah.
Oh, no, wait, actually, do you know what? The college, I don't know what you guys have. We have college is like sixth form.
Okay, so.
University, do you guys call college university? I mean,
no, college is different than university.
Yeah.
So, okay, how about this? Post-secondary.
Yeah. I actually was, when I was in uni, I was coming out of class and I bumped face to face with this guy, Billy. His name, I'm not going to say his name, but
you just said his name.
I didn't say his name.
Did you say Billy?
No.
Okay, I heard Billy. Okay, sorry, it's the British Canadian accent. Sorry.
I bumped face to face with him and he recognized me and he was like to me, Sarah, I was like, hi. And he was like, hi, how you doing? What have you been up to? Blah, blah, blah. He actually apologized to me as well at last day of year 11 when we were collecting our certificates. And I was like, you know what? It's so late now, but it's fine. Just forget it, you know? And he was like, you know, he felt really bad about himself. But so he was like, how are you doing? You know, I said to him, I'm good. And he was like, well, you up to? I was like, you know, this is what I'm studying, and, you know, I have a son. And he was just like, when I told him I'm married, he was just like, you know, he was so shocked, and he was like, so like, you know, shy about himself. And, you know,
Interesting. And somebody
yeah.
just asked a question related to that. If you were to see one of your bullies now, you know, what would your response be?
To be honest, I wouldn't even waste my time. I wouldn't even waste my time, because I actually saw a bully of mine in the gym. She recognized me, and she was the girl that used to throw food at me. And you know what? She became so fat. She spoke about me. She's so fat.
Ah,
She came with her guy friend or whatever. And then she started side-eyeing me and telling me, no, I know that girl. And she just kept looking at me. And to be honest, I didn't even bother to look at her, because I'm really not bothered. I'm not bothered to waste my energy on people that just don't deserve it.
that don't deserve it. Ahsanti. That's such a powerful thing, because you're taking the control back of the situation, whereas before they were taking control of you in the sense of your emotions. Now we just have to acknowledge here our cousin. I don't know if I know that cousin. We're not going to be able to come to Iraq anytime soon. There's a pandemic going on. We missed Arba'iniyat al-Hussain alayhi salam, so we're definitely not going to be coming anytime soon with what's happening. But there's so much love and support, mashallah, from people who are just admiring your strength and inspiration, dear Sara, that you are touching upon things that I think a lot of people in our communities don't talk about. Like we said, the actual acts of the bullying that you experience, but also the eating disorders that you also went through. And inshallah, in the future, perhaps we can do some programs on that yourself or other people as well, because I know this is something that is happening within our communities as a form of control, and it's truly, truly hurting people. So one final question here that we have is, what was the most important thing that you took out of this whole traumatic experience in your life?
Strength.
Strength.
Yeah.
Are you okay?
Definitely. Yeah, I'm fine.
Sorry,
fine.
I thought we just got a little emotional there with a little bit of snip there.
No, I'm good. I'm honestly,
Yeah.
I'm good.
Alhamdulillah.
Strength, definitely. Sometimes, you know, people see me and they're like, you know, you've become such a different person, and I'm glad, because it's important. You have to be strong for yourself.
Absolutely.
You have
Absolutely.
to. You have to.
And that strength came, we could, you know, from what you've described to us, the story, the change of the school, going into college, not university, and then your family. And for you, it was that beautiful ziyarah of Imam al-Rida alayhi salam. Inshallah, may Allah grant us another ziyarah. It's been so hard to be away from the Ahl al-Bayt and the ziyarahs this year with what's been happening. Inshallah, 2021, Allah yaftaha ala wujuh al-alam, inshallah this pandemic will be over, ya Rab. It's been such a strange year that has impacted people on so many different levels, and I think it also impacted us in the sense that we've been looking inward in terms of what are the things that are impacting us in our lives, how do we cope and deal with all of this. And I don't even recall how you and I started talking about this issue, and I have to admit, I did not even know that you had gone through this experience, even though we've known each other for a long time now.
A lot of people say that to me. They're like, we wouldn't even have guessed, but I think that's a good thing, right?
Well, it doesn't reflect on you that you've been through it, but yeah. I can tell, having connected with you and met with you, and you know, not just being friends, but as family as well, is that I absolutely agree with what you said in terms of strength. you embody strength, and I see that in you. And as a young woman who stands up for herself, does not let people bully or push her around anymore, because especially of what you've been through, and that you're a young mother, a young wife as well. And look at what you are studying, mashallah. You want to help people, and who in medicine, and who get impacted and get sick with cancer. God bless you, Sara. And I know this has been a heavy story to share, and a lot of people are showing so much love. And I recall when we posted that, people were quite shocked, because the picture of your younger self, 12 years old, you're so beautiful with the noor that comes out of you, the innocence. And it's so shocking to know that this young child was mistreated this way when there's so much beauty in her. And I could tell you to tell your younger self, it was because you were so beautiful, they were jealous of you.
Thank you. Honestly, you're the nice one.
Habibti, that you exude so much of that at 12 years old, when you were bullied like that, it's because they didn't know how to handle somebody of your character, your poise, your stature, that this is what people do. And people can be just so nasty and horrible and mean sometimes. Alhamdulillah, quite a journey that you've been through. Bless you so much for sharing the story with us today. And inshallah, in future sessions of this, of her narrative, her story, we're going to be talking to different women, and it will be his story, his narrative, when we talk to males, inshallah, for different types of experiences that we go through. Inshallah, may Allah bless you always, Sara, on your path. Likewise. Your family, your mother, your son, your husband, all of your loved ones. And for all of those of you who are saying salam from Iran, please, when you go to ziyarah, remember Sara and her family and all of us there, please. And may Allah bless all of you who joined, and for every single one of you who shared your experiences as well, whether you were bullied, and whether it was eating disorders, or how you work through it. It's so important that you do reach out and get the right support, whether it's within the school, whether it's with your doctor, whether it's family or somebody that you trust. For those of you who are experiencing any of these issues right now and you're feeling triggered, please use the Muslim Youth Helpline or the Nasiha Helpline, where you can talk to a professional in the field who can also help you and refer you to appropriate resources.
Talk. It helps if you talk. Seriously, don't be afraid to talk. Talk. Even if you feel like you're not making sense, just talk. Talk, let it out. You'll feel so much better. Don't keep it in you.
Ahsanti. And this is from somebody who's a survivor, who's telling you this, not to keep it in. And me as a therapist, I'm also telling you that if there's something cooped up inside of you, make sure you have an outlet to get it out of your system, because it is so damaging. As you can see with what Sara did, she turned that pain into control over food and how it impacted her. So it's so important to be able to reach out and connect. And if you do have questions, you can also send me a message or ask Sara, and inshallah, I will connect you to the right resources. Everything. And Sara is very big on supporting and empowering other people who have been through difficult situations. Thank you again so much. May Allah bless you. And inshallah, we'll see you next time when we do have other programs on Insta Ahlul Bayt or through the Muslim Counsellor. You can follow both Sara and I on our social media. Mine's Berak Hussain, the Muslim Counsellor. Sara is Sara Asam. I don't know if she'll add you because it's a private account, right? But if you're interested in learning more about what she's been through, if you have questions, she's not a trained professional in the field, but she'll be a medical professional inshallah one day. And الأخ أمجد إذا تريد تحكي ويا بنت خالتك روح دزلها مسج واحكي وياها مو علنيا كل العالم كله. Please send our salam to the whole family, to عراقة خالة بشرى الجميع inshallah. Thank you very much everybody. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.